Is liberty dying where you live? Escape to Keene at freekeene.com.
So, Mr. Ellis, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm Ian.
Hi, Dave
And
Ellis, yeah.
Dave?
Yeah.
So, you heard his story, Dave. What do you think about that?
I don't know anything about it, I don't know. I wasn't wanting to listen. I heard bits and pieces of it, that's all.
Well, basically, his property was taken by the town of Winchester for some allegation over possessions. I apologize. His possessions were taken by the town of Winchester, allegedly over some ridiculous regulation. So, you think that the city or town should just be able to go and take people's things who haven't hurt anybody else?
I don't know what the regulation states.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
If it states that they can, you think that's okay?
If it's it had to have been voted on by the people of the town. So the regulations, that's where laws, rules, everything are voted on by the people.
So tell me something.
Yeah.
If I were to come to your house, and I would never do this, but if I were to come to your house and threaten you or your family and demand that you give me money, what would that be called?
Be criminal threatening.
Yeah. Extortion.
Yeah,
So if I came there with a group of 10 friends and did the same thing, what would that be called?
It would be the same thing.
Right. Maybe with like a racketeering thing involved too.
There might be some kind of...
We've got a gang, we've got a criminal gang.
Right. More than
So what if I came with 51% of the population?
I would think it would be the same thing, but probably at a...
But isn't that
bigger.
what the system is? Where 51%, you said the town voted on whatever was going on in Winchester, so therefore it's okay to take this man's property. But what I'm trying to show you through asking those questions is that we're still just talking about ever-increasingly large groups of people who are using the threat of force against other human beings. And my suggestion might be that that's wrong even if it's 51%. Because it's clearly wrong if it's one person, and it's clearly wrong if it's 10. So it should also be wrong at 100, 1,000, and 10,000,
I would think it
and
would
so
be.
on.
It would still feel... The elements of the crime or the offense would still be the same whether it was one or
Right, so you would agree that the system then in that case is immoral.
Well, the system...
Because
they're
it's
going
criminal.
by what the system... They let the system do.
They do let the system do it, and people do let them, and then that is a part of the problem. But it's interesting to look at it from a moral question. It's not right just because people wrote some things down on a piece of paper and called themselves the legislature or the city council. You shouldn't get to just be able to take someone's things if you have a fancy badge, for instance.
Well, we couldn't do that.
Oh, you would be the people who would go to his house if it was in Troy
to
take his stuff.
Not if it was civil. The sheriff's department handles the civil issues.
So the sheriff's department would. It wouldn't be your hands that would be getting dirty.
Because it would be civil. It would be a civil issue. I mean, we'd be there just to keep the peace, pretty much, and order. That's the only thing I think we would be there
And I
for.
wish that were the case. It's Dave, right?
Yeah, it is.
So I wish, Dave, that were the case, that you guys were only there to keep the peace. Because peace officers sounds like a nice idea to me.
It's the way it used to be.
Right, the way it used to be. And it's interesting that you say that, because now it feels like they're law enforcement officers, and they're just, to some extent, enforcing these laws that have been come down from on high by the state legislature, whether they're thank you very much, whether they're constitutional or not, and
that's something
that's a problem, right?
Whoever has a problem with it being constitutional should fight that or see if it's not constitutional.
Which I've done, and I've had things overturned, like the sheriff's order.
I agree. I've had one of your members. I forget his name. I've met him.
We don't have members. It's just individuals.
An individual that and I've talked to him before, and I agree with a lot of the things you believe in. And
who is it, if I might ask?
He's from Marlboro.
Okay.
But I believe in a lot of the things that you believe in. It's just the way it's gone about, either civil disobedience or...
You don't believe in civil disobedience?
To prove well, that disturbs people that just want to walk and be be in the parks and just be able to sit in the park and sit there and watch the birds and listen to the birds. And
I appreciate that too.
All I say is, I agree with a lot of the I don't know what you want to call it.
It's hard to do civil disobedience from your living room, though, right?
No, that is true.
If you're going to do it.
It's true, but
and I
you
understand.
kind of get what I'm saying? Like,
Sure, I totally understand. It can ruffle feathers. I believe in a lot of the things, but just there's got to be another way to be able to get the point and something done about those issues. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my
I appreciate
my
that.
opinion. And
let's talk about an issue. How about the war on drugs?
That's one that's never going to be won.
By your side, you mean?
Right.
Right. So
I've worked undercover. I've done a lot of stuff, and I said that back in the '90s that it was never gonna. We're not gonna gain on it.
And I see you've been serving since 1982.
Yep.
So almost as long as I've been alive.
Yep.
So have you been in New Hampshire that whole time?
Yep.
Always
Just
in Cheshire County?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Troy, where else?
Jaffrey, I started my career.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, actually Swansea part-time. That was in the 80s, the 82. And worked in Jaffrey, Winchester, and Troy. Fitzwilliam, too, a little bit part-time.
So if you were going to do civil disobedience, what would it be?
If I was going to do civil I don't know if civil disobedience is the way to go about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
Would there be an issue that would push you over the edge? What if you were ordered... This is never going to happen in New Hampshire, but what if you were ordered to confiscate firearms from people?
That is something that we've
door to door.
We've all talked about that.
Like door to door.
Yeah, I mean, officers and I have talked about it. It's like, I don't think that could ever happen.
I don't think it could in New Hampshire either, but we know it's happened in other places, like Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina.
I'm not aware of that.
Oh, yeah. There's video online, ABC News. They actually had California Highway Patrol had come out to Louisiana. They had, in addition to that, of course, your sheriffs and all those people, but also the National Guard. And they're going house to house, taking people's guns from them. Mm-hmm. Even, licensed gun owners were having their guns stripped from them. It was pretty ridiculous.
See, I don't think that would ever happen here.
Right. What would you do, though, if you were ordered to do that? It's a conflict, right?
It's a good question because I've lived in New Hampshire all my life.
Right.
And grew up with guns.
Guns are part of New Hampshire. I mean, absolutely.
Right. And we just need to get them out of the hands of the people that aren't mentally should have them or access to them. That's my big issue, is that no matter what kind of criminal background you got, it's the mental issues that that are involved.
Would that be an order that you would say no to?
I probably would. Mm-hmm. I probably, to be honest,
even if you lose your job.
I guess I would be at civil disobedience at that point.
Or you could argue that it's obedience to the Constitution, because that would be you as an individual interpreting what you think the Constitution means, the right to bear arms. That could be you saying, well, this is my interpretation of what people's rights should be, and I'm not going to violate people's rights. So it could be looked at as civil disobedience from one perspective, but it could also be looked at as obedience to something of a higher order, I suppose.
I guess what have to, I would definitely have, if it ever came to that point, that would have meant that the majority of the people, the voters, would have voted for that.
Not necessarily, because in a republic, you vote for candidates and you have no control over what they do. So we all know politicians tell lies to get elected. It's not necessarily the will of the people. And in addition to that, most people don't vote, so therefore it's never the will of the majority in any way, shape, or form. It's been interesting, Dave.
Difficult.
I appreciate it. Well, it's a tough question. I mean, it is for someone in your position. And I appreciate that you were thinking about it, too, so thank you for that.
Most definitely.
Very thoughtful.
I'm human.
Yeah, of course you are.
Sometimes. But, no, but...
Great. Good conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Mm-hmm. We'd like to invite you to visit freekeen.com. Freekeen.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeen.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeen.com.
I should be in Keene, New Hampshire with the Free Staters.